What up? Hey, I figured I would talk about something that I am a little bit passionate about, and maybe by internet standards, it's a an old topic, and I really hope that it doesn't come off as dogpiling, but I feel like I have a little bit of perspective and something I could share on this, and like I said, I'm passionate about it. I hope it also doesn't come across as like rage or rage baiting, but I mean, it definitely has me, a little bit worked up. Like I don't think that I don't think that people's opinions should be suppressed by any means, and we're gonna get into why. So here's the topic. All right, so this is the video. Your $70 doesn't buy you cruelty, which already is a sort of misleading title, but I figured we'll get into it. We're not gonna watch the whole thing, but I'll show you like the key parts that I would like to talk about.
Like your $70 doesn't buy you cruelty. Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. The fact that you bought a game that you didn't like doesn't give you the right to be cruel or unkind to the people that developed that game.
All right, so already off the top, this is something that I see that's been pretty common, at least in politics lately, especially social politics. Before like the very recent like culture change. So let's just say that like there's like a middle ground where people are maybe just either okay with the game or are not okay with the game, and they're just voicing their opinion. Maybe there's a couple people over here on the far, you know, or for the far side that are just being like super abrasive and calling out art director or a video director or I don't know, something like that. And but either way, I would go really far to assume that that is like a minority. Like that does not happen. But what this guy has done is he has moved the argument all the way over to here to say like you can't be cruel, so that way it devalues the argument of everyone else. You'll see it in the video. You can go watch the video yourself, but he's making up a essentially a non it's a non scenario. Like this isn't, even if it was here, it's still such a non scenario that the whole intent is to devalue like the whole conversation. And he does say that yeah, you can have an opinion, but the video wouldn't exist if he wanted you to have an opinion.
I'm going to be clear about something. I'm not saying that you have to like the thing you bought. I'm
Say?
not saying even that you aren't allowed to complain about the thing you bought. You can have whatever opinion that you feel like
You're just not allowed to
towards
share
a
it.
game. Even if that opinion is stupid and wrong, you are entitled to that opinion. And to some degree, you're entitled to express that opinion to the corporation, to the video game studio that created this game that you.
Okay, so here's the next problem. So he wants you to only vent to the corporation, and what I have here is like a quick layout, like a working group or a chair or a board. And so he wants you to vent to, these guys that only care about making money, or even like subcommittees or working groups of, in this case, a game industry, in which people have done. He claims that they listen and that it has made changes, but it didn't. These games keep coming out, and and now they're mad at you for not buying the game. He goes on to argue that you can't be mad at a specific person, but this is what I wanted to take the time to explain. So what I have here is, let's just say like the overall the board of like a major gaming industry, or honestly any major industry. So you have like your executive board here, right? Like the main guy, the CEO, the guy who would preferably talk to shareholders, but sometimes he delegates it and all that stuff. But the main face of the company, right? The direction of the company. And then you would have sub boards, whether it's like production, logistics, or honestly, it could be anything, whatever their project management regime is. But from there, since all these guys care about is making the company money and meeting deadlines and deadlines that share with shareholders, so that way they can make money, what you would see is subcommittees or sub working groups, right? And these can go down, as far as they need to. Like it could be maybe this, depending on how large the company is, but maybe this board has separate little working groups, or cubicle style offices where they do sync and work together. But for this scenario, we're just going to share as if these guys are the worker bees and they do the production. So these guys come to a board, right? And with the scenario that he provides, we're not allowed to voice our concerns about like the individuals here, right? You're only allowed to be mad at the company. But these guys come to the board and he's acting like they don't have any say. So this guy comes in, let's just say he's oh gosh, what is it? Like a script writer, or a like OST. Honestly, it doesn't even matter like what the actual job is, but he's going to be able to share influence. He's asking for a deadline, and this guy is going to be able to share a deadline, but as he is rolling this stuff up, he's going to be able to express some influence into it. Even if it was a strict board, and one guy wrote it and the other guy is just reading it or voicing it, like there's still going to be in the arts like a back and forth. Like, oh, well, when I read this character, I think of it this way, or I wrote this character and I wrote it this way. So these people are going to go back and forth. He's acting like they don't have any voice at all. Like, I can't be mad at this person for making a character a way that doesn't align with any value, like a Concord character, right? Like no one wanted to see any of the Concord characters. So at some point, a person in a position like this proposed a character that looks like a Concord character, and either because of the current climate politically, or because it was an echo chamber, or I don't know what, everyone else bought off on it and was like, oh yeah, that's a good idea, or they were too scared to say it was a bad idea, because you get people like this that claim that they're suppressed because they get spoken out against.
You paid 70 of your own dollars for this game, and it disappointed you. And when you start being cruel about it. So why am I saying you don't get to be cruel because you spent $70? Let's walk through it. One, you shouldn't be cruel at all. What are you doing? It's a video game. You don't need to go out of your way to cause harm to other people because of a video game that you don't like.
Again, like I said, it's like almost like moving the goalpost. Like, no one is causing harm. Like, physical harm, emotional harm, maybe, but like because these people are losing their jobs, it's not the fault of the audience. Like, this is calling out the audience for essentially voting with their wallets at worst for harm.
Again, I'm not saying you're not allowed to be angry about it. I'm not saying you don't get to express your dissatisfaction with the content of the game that you're not enjoying. But when you climb into someone's personal social media and start actively attacking that person. When
Okay.
you
Attacking.
celebrate layoffs at a studio because the game that you don't like didn't do that well, you're crossing a line.
Yeah, you're not allowed to celebrate that that people get moved out of an industry that you're interested in whenever they're not either they're not performing or they're trying to do such a massive culture shift to an industry that you've been a part of.
You don't know what caused the results that you don't like. Let's go through an example. Let's say that you don't like the line delivery on a piece of dialogue. Is that the fault of the voice actor?
Again, it very well could be.
It might be, but
Yeah.
it could be a lot of other things too. It might be the fault of the person who was directing.
So, yeah, for the next couple of minutes, honestly, he goes into essentially give excuses. Like it could be that someone hired someone's, sister cousin, or honestly some things that as the consumer, as the buyer, we don't care about. I do not care what went on in the production or or what issues you guys had. What matters is that you create a game that people want to play and that doesn't absolutely pander into people's faces and then make them feel bad about who they are, especially about buying a game to begin with.
That voice actor. Maybe they were given very specific instructions to deliver the line in this particular way. Maybe the writer who wrote that line wanted it delivered in this particular way, and the stage game changed radically 3 months ago, and they had to rewrite this entire character in just 3 months.
Again,
and
just
you're
more
just getting the first draft of that writing.
excuse.
Maybe
I mean,
the lead writer-
every business, everyone has issues like this, and every business industry company like there's things that set you back, and you can't predict everything. And you have to be clear and communicate those issues as to your superiors and your supervisors, so that way like they can try to mitigate and shift and look at production times. But like he provides these as excuses as to why the product sucks, and again, no one cares. Like, we don't care what your problems were. Those are your problems. All we care about is that the product sucked.
Mandatory changes to the project, to have your own opinions, to not like the things you don't like. It's specifically to point out that you being angry at a specific person, you attacking a specific person, is often misdirected. If you feel like you're just not getting the satisfaction from...
This is where he goes on to say, like, you're only allowed to voice it, again, either to the company or to, like, the head people.
Yelling at the corporate Twitter channel or yelling at the studio directly. If you feel like you need to focus it down onto an actual human being, I mean, that's really sad. I'm sorry. That's very sad. And hopefully you can
insults.
Grow beyond that. But I will give you a couple of outlets. If you need to complain at a human being, I'm going to say you don't get to go lower than the first person in the credits. You can go higher than that, but no lower than that. The first person in the credits is the person who was, theoretically at least, in charge of the project.
And again, like with what I just explained, maybe their hands were tied because the current climate, or maybe they're either directly responsible or maybe they don't quite understand. They were hired into that position because they're into business management. They're just like, yeah, sure, whatever it takes, get your role done. And I absolutely think that you should be able to and not aggressively or attack. Again, I think that's a non-issue. I don't think that's happening except for maybe 4 people on X or on Reddit or some crap like that. But I think that the way that this should go is these people should not be an echo chamber. These people need to make sure that this is not an echo chamber. But if an idea comes out and it's not good, and we find out that this person is the person that made the initial proposal, like, it takes the village to make sure that that's not okay, or that we don't like that, right? Like, that's exactly the way it works for absolutely everything else, or the way that it should. Let's just say, a theoretical scenario, this person is racist and they're spewing like racist rhetoric. If they speak up and the village is allowed to talk about it, it's going to get knocked down pretty quickly. It's going to be like, that is not okay. That's racist, right? That same logic should apply to just about everything else. Like, does this appeal to our customers? Is this okay? Is this either pandering or something else? Like, what does it take to move past this?
They are the person.
And those people, the people in these positions, like I said, if they are racist or something else, like, they should bounce their morals off of everyone else. Like, that's what we do in the village, in a society. Like, that's the whole point. That's why we're supposed to communicate with others.
Where at least some of the responsibility is going to lie. Now, did they have it's no shit, that's me.
It's
but
me.
Yeah, if you feel like you need to yell at somebody for the way that it's targeting people directly, even the executive producer. But you know what? If you feel the need, the higher up in the organization you go, the more I'm going to say, have at her. As you get beyond the executive producer and you get up into studio leadership and group leadership and the C-suite and the person in charge of the entire corporation, they share responsibility in the game you don't like being the way that it is. So if you feel the need,
they do to some extent, but again, these people aren't playing the game. Like often now these days, like, in this scenario, these people aren't playing the game. Just like, I mean, a lot of other industries, let's just say you're a store manager at Walmart. Do you think the store manager at Walmart knows how to run the very specific program that is used back in the automotive section? Or do you think the regional manager of Home Depot knows how to do things like manage inventory, maybe in the gardening section, or if there's any other specific programs that like automatically show what paint looks like on certain door frames or something like that? Like, no, like, they don't know those specifics, and they trust that someone else is guiding that stuff upwards, that the information flows upwards. So yeah, these people do get to make decisions, and they do get to, expand their influence. And we absolutely do need to be able to share our thoughts on that. To his point, should it be cruel? No. Has it been? I would honestly doubt it. I haven't seen any specific examples. He didn't share any specific examples to show, people being cruel. And I'm not saying like to dox people, although that does meet with what I'm saying. Like, it does take the village. Maybe public shaming should be a thing. If someone is being cruel, then we should public shame them to some extent, right? Or depending on the aggression, like on how cruel it is, then maybe get a restraining order, get something, like file a police report. I understand that the internet's large, cross country, whatever else. But there's block them, do what you have to do, to block, do what you have to do to settle the issue at your level.
Need to yell at them again? Probably don't, but they're big boys and girls, so they should be able to handle it. Now, the reality is, most of those people do not have a social media presence.
Yeah. Yep.
Playing on the forums of a studio, or you complain into the social media channels of the publisher or the studio, be aware that this stuff is carefully scrutinized, not just by the social media teams, also by the teams themselves. Arguably, in a lot of cases, to too great of a degree. The team is listening, I would say, often too much to what you are yelling about and complaining about in these channels.
Oh, so yeah, see now it's too much. So here's my other issue. He essentially doesn't. He explained that yeah, you can complain to these people, but essentially you can't get a hold of them. But there are certain people that he is saying do listen, and the problem is that that based on recent recent issues that have probably been highlighted and maybe inflamed more than what they should have, but community managers, right? So these people that are supposed to deal with the community, whether it's on socials or like a website, for forum, other socials, like they've been getting on there and spewing their own rhetoric. And I don't mean like just some crappy video about how like if you spend $70 then you're not entitled to an unrealistic scenario. These guys are going out there essentially saying if you voted for X then you're a bad person. Like they're attacking your morals, and they're attacking like they're trying to be the arbiters of truth when it comes to you sharing your opinion. Like I said, everyone should be able to share their opinion, and these people have a slightly elevated position, right, in the company, in those communities that the company provides, and then they go in there and they can speak values to the company, in which I'm not going to argue with people if like companies are allowed to have values. Like in my opinion, I think companies should avoid it to the best of their ability. Like they should not really take a stance on a lot of things. It plays it safe, and quite honestly, a company as a whole shouldn't need to have values in everything. But instead, you get these issues like Avowed, like Godot, where these community managers are attacking people like potential customers and customer base. And so it's not just issues where Unity changes their pricing, because these guys want to see more profit, and that trickles downhill, and now some community managers getting chewed out. It's where it's very specific political and social political things that would have maybe been non-issues before a game came out or before a program was associated with it, that have now been turned into political issues because this person, and then the company has to choose whether like, oh crap, if we fire this person, then how does that look on us? Then that shows that we don't support whatever, if it's a minority or whatever social political values. Like it's borderline entrapment. It is a situation that is being caused by these people, in which like companies are frustrated about, right? Like they can't really do anything about it. And then like you want us to not be mad at these people. So yeah, I mean the people aren't buying the $70 game is the issue, or they end up returning the $70 game, and that becomes more of an issue, right? We keep seeing it with Concord, like, oh, why did Concord fail? Why is Dragon's Age Veilguard, why was it so poorly received? And I think that those voices should be heard to some extent. Like the people who are frustrated with Dragon's Age Veilguard on Reddit should be, because someone somewhere allowed like politics and other things to get involved, either with the game or with the community or what else, or what have you, right? Like if the game would have just came out and not been so politically involved ahead of time, I'm willing to bet we would have had, we'd be talking different things about a couple of those games right now. So, I understand the point of the video. I think that you're entitled to your opinion, honestly, no matter what. Like, I don't think that no one's going to tell me that there's any amount of money that is going to take away my opinion. But I think cruelty is essentially it's like shifting the goalpost or shifting the argument to be essentially like a non-issue, and it just essentially devalues anyone else's argument. Essentially, what is cruel? Is cruelty physical attacks? Are these people getting physically attacked? Are they getting verbally like abused, harassed? I think I get it, but I think I think it's a non-issue. I think this is more people just being mad at the current swing in the political culture and the swing in gaming. And I get it that arts will always be like this, but you never go after your fan base. And I have specific experience in this. I have worked for and been part of companies where I have tried to like institute like reform inside the company, and if you institute it too fast, like honestly, like your customers, if you're like an HR or your personnel, your staff, like they will work against you at some point. So I think this is counterproductive leadership to some extent, in which, like I'm telling you, I've learned the hard way. I think that maybe if he wants to get a gentler touch, then he should take a gentler touch himself instead of making theoretical incited cruelty and maybe violence. So that's all I got on it. Peace.